your best bet is not to fall ill. The very first thing you must keep in mind is that your health is in your own hands. Hi, good morning, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Healthy Drive. This channel is about your health. I wish all of you healthy drivers a very happy new year. Yes, for all of you who follow my channel, I would like to call each and every one of you a healthy driver, because you are becoming aware of your health and you are taking charge of your own health. I hope you had a very good New Year celebrations. You enjoyed a lot, and now that the time has come to keep your resolutions. Most of us keep New Year resolutions. So what was your New Year resolution? Was it to lose weight? Was it to remain more active? Was it to get adequate amount of sleep? Whatever it is, the resolutions, people make resolutions, but they are not able to continue them, and after a month or so, the resolutions vanish. So let that not happen. So I am going to give you a few tips regarding the common New Year resolutions, and basically a few tips of remaining healthy in 2023. My dear friends, my dear healthy drivers, the very first thing you must keep in mind is that your health is in your own hands. You are the driver of your health. You must become aware that you have to extract that amount of healthy information from the environment around you and then work with your doctor. You must not wait for you to become sick and then go to the doctor and then ask the doctor, make me well. That doesn't happen, because doctors are not trained like that. We are not trained about health, we are trained about sickness. So I really don't blame the doctors. When you go to a doctor will look for certain symptoms. So that's what we are trained for. We look for certain symptoms, and when there is a pattern recognition of symptoms, we have an armamentarium of medications nowadays, which we try and apply to each and every symptom and hope it works. So that is what happens, and it may or may not work in your condition. And moreover, the very scientific grounds of this approach has been questioned, because this whole concept came from the era of antibiotics in 1940s, when for the first time penicillin and other antibiotics were invented, and there used to be germs which used to cause a lot of infection, and these antibiotics, they work like magic. So it was one of the high points of modern medicine. And what happened, unfortunately, was that when the metabolic diseases came along soon after, we tried to apply the same principle to the metabolic diseases. So it didn't work. In fact, it got worse. And then some people had their own theory that saturated fats cause heart disease. So that also caused a lot of harm, because there was absolutely no ounce of truth in the fact that cholesterol is the cause of heart disease, and saturated fat causes heart disease, and red meat causes cancer. So all these nutritional misconceptions, of which I have told you about in my previous episodes, they also led to a complete confusion, I would say, in nutritional science, and therefore people were never sure what to eat and what not to eat. And in our country, to quite an extent, we also incorporated the guidelines given by the American Heart Association, by the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, who laid down the guidelines for, and even the ADA for the American Diabetes Association for the diabetes guidelines. So these things continued. The guidelines were there. People were kind of made to stop or rather there was a lot of fear mongering going on regarding cholesterol, regarding foods containing saturated fats, and due to those false studies which were published in the 1970s, today an Indian housewife is afraid to eat the yellow of the eggs. So that is the ripple effect. Without realizing, the common sense says that food made by nature, which has been there for millions of years, and how can that be bad for the heart? So you must be very, very aware of what is good for you and what is the evidence for you. I agree it is difficult for an average lay person to pick up the correct information, given the fact that the media is bombarding you with the wrong kind of propaganda as far as health and nutrition is concerned, because the nutrition has become no man's land. Everyone is an expert, and everyone can say this thing works for me, that thing works for me. It's very difficult actually to carry out proper randomized control trials in the field of nutrition, and it used to be very, very few even in a decade back, 10 years back. But today there are enough number of studies which very much proves that the things are not as they have been projecting before. That a good thing is that saturated fats are healthy. Not only they are healthy, they protect your heart. That cholesterol does not cause heart disease. At least dietary cholesterol is no longer a nutrient of concern, was a statement given by AHA, and the previous stand that cholesterol is a cause of heart disease, dietary cholesterol is a cause of heart disease, has been retracted by the USDA and the AHA in as long back as 2015. But a retraction of guidelines do not necessarily transfer into practice. That we all know very well. Even today doctors will write you anti-cholesterol medications which are known as statins, and these statins have huge side effects. They can take the entire energy out of you, because statins strike cholesterol synthesis, and cholesterol is something which is integral to our structure. It is 90% of our brain. It is present in each and every cell of our body. All our hormones and enzymes are made from cholesterol-like structure. So if you just demonize cholesterol and give anti-cholesterol medicine for anything that you suspect that it might be the cause of heart disease, so that is going to destroy your entire body. And that has been found, so that people who are on statins for a long time, either they develop diabetes if they don't have it, and in the long term they undergo muscle wasting and memory loss, and the body starts to fall apart. So the benefits are very, very minimal, and that too, it may not be due to the direct action of the anti-cholesterol action of the statin. The benefits might be something which is known as pleomorphic, or due to the anti-inflammatory property. So a big question on the use of statins blindly for the use of prevention of heart attacks, for which it has not shown to be a significant number. So this is one example of why you as a citizen should be aware that such things are happening, and there is evidence, and the evidence and the guidelines are available to everyone on the net. All you have to do is to go through them and discuss with your doctor that the guidelines have changed, that the evidence have changed, and hopefully you will find a doctor who is ready to listen and will work with you. Such doctors are few, but they are growing in number. I am just trying to make you aware that these things exist. So your own awareness about your health is the best saver for you. Your best bet is not to fall ill. Prevention is better than cure. That you must have heard from your childhood. This is how you prevent. You prevent yourself from falling ill of these modern day metabolic diseases. And because once you are affected with these diseases, all that the mainstream medicine offers you is a bunch of medications, and the bunch of medications may make your blood parameters seem like normal after some time, but that doesn't mean that the disease is reduced. For example, the diabetes medicine may normalize your blood sugar, but you have to understand that where does this blood sugar go? This blood sugar goes away from the blood, but it goes to the end organs of the body where it causes the damage. So similarly, for most of these metabolic diseases, one must look at the root cause. Only when you look at the root cause and talk to your doctor about it, and also make him aware that today there are guidelines which address to this. And for example, let me tell you about type 2 diabetes, that all the major guidelines forming body of the world, like the ADA, Diabetes Australia, Diabetes UK, Diabetes Canada, all of them advocate a very low carbohydrate diet or a low carbohydrate diet as a viable option for any patient who wants to be off medications. So that is wonderful news. And if you can use your diet to get rid of medications, so there can be no better news for your health, because not only the medicines are toxic, they are expensive, and as per a BBC report which I told you about, the world is going to run out of insulin by 2030. And I have seen many patients who are at the end of medications. I mean, they have been given every possible medicines and loads of insulin are going on, but still sugar is not under control. So what do they do after this? Other than the doctor shrugging their shoulders and saying that it is a chronic progressive disease. But no, type 2 diabetes is not a chronic progressive disease. Type 2 diabetes is a nutritional disorder. You need to recognize the fact that there is a particular part of nutrition which your body is not tolerating, and one needs to address to that. So if I always sum it up in one line, that you cannot have type 2 diabetes if you do not take carbohydrates. The rest of the factors like stress and lack of exercise play a very little role. It is the nutrition and which plays the maximum role, and it is the role of carbohydrates which is crucial. So once again, be aware and have the knowledge, because knowledge is power, and this knowledge and power is going to give you good health in the coming year. Okay, point number 2, stop eating processed food. Now we live in an era of processed and ultra processed food. Everything that we eat, right from getting up in the morning, whether it is a couple of biscuits with the morning tea or coffee, whether it is the bread which follows soon afterwards, or it is the cornflakes, or it is even the Indian breads like the roti, the chapati, the paratha, the dosa, the idli, the poha, and such other things. So these are partly processed and partly ultra processed. The biscuits are ultra processed foods. The bread is also ultra processed. We don't know what they are making. It is no longer the wholesome bread which used to be baked at home once upon a time. It is a factory produced. The flour they used is very, very refined and is nothing but sugar. And what they mix, the molds, and a lot of sugar goes into that, a lot of chemicals goes into that, so that it does not fall flat, or rather it remains to be edible for quite some period of time. So for all these things, the modern day white breads or brown breads as they call them is just a color difference. There is nothing different in the components about them, and it's just the marketing ploy to make you think that brown bread is better than white bread. It's not so. Both have a same glycemic index, or both are as bad as sugar. So all this ultra processed food are out to hijack your health. What are the other ultra processed food? The supermarket now is full of them. various kind of cookies, various kind of mixtures or chanachur as we call them, various kind of savories, and um, whatever you come across in a packet, you should try and avoid anything that comes out of a packet and has more than two components. The only thing that comes out of a packet which I eat maybe is butter. That too not always. We try to get some homegrown butter, but other than that, everything that is there, that is offered as food in tins and cans and packets, please be very very careful, because you are eating not only more than the food, you are eating a bunch of chemicals which can disrupt with your hunger, which can disrupt with your hormones. And these ultra processed food have been found not only to cause disruption of your physiology, but they can also give rise to autoimmune diseases. That is what the modern day research is showing. So what should you do then? You should try and go back to traditional ways of eating as far as possible. I know we all lead a very very fast life, and there's no time for anything, but you have to find time for your health. I know I'm saying this, my life is also a very hectic one, but the fact is, unless you find time for your health, then the disease will have to find time for you. You will have to find time for your disease if you fall sick. And I said, just like I said before, your best bet is not to fall sick. So consider all these things, what I am telling you, as an investment. That invest some time in eating real food. So that is the next tip, is that eat real food. What is real food? Real food is what is made by nature, not what is man-made and comes in packets. Real food is what the vegetables that you might be lucky enough to grow in your garden or your field. Real food is what grows in trees and you can get them directly, which is fruit which has not been processed, fruit which is eaten like a fruit in that particular season, not as a juice at home, and never as a canned juice which is available round the clock. Those kind of fruit juices are nothing but cans of sugar and can completely damage your body and system. So processed food is off the table, and for very very obvious reasons, it can completely destroy your health. The third thing which you should avoid is sugar. Now, sugar has been around for a couple of centuries, but once upon a time sugar was very scarce. It was a very precious commodity, and it was not grown in all parts of the world. And it came to India from Papua New Guinea, and from India it used to be exported to Arabian countries, and from there it went to Europe. And then when Europe colonized America, it was grown over there. So gradually, as the cultivation went up of the sugarcane, sugar became more commonly available. Once upon a time, it was only the privilege of the rich to get some sugar. But once sugar became freely available, people started eating in a huge way. For example, across 100 years, from 1700 to 1800 in Europe, the sugar consumption went up some 20 times or 30 times. And this was even before the advent of ultra processed food. Sugar was a processed food, no doubt. But today, in the age of ultra processed food, there is sugar everywhere, everywhere. And sugar not only causes hyperinsulinemia, which we know is also inflammatory, and that is the kind of base of all the metabolic diseases which I have told you, showing in that round figure, that hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance lies in the center of all the metabolic diseases that we suffer from. So the main culprit would be sugar, and sugar should be off your table most of the time. Some of you have asked me this question, that if sugar is so bad, then why do we have sugar taste buds? Well, the answer is that when we were evolving, when our ancestors, their only form of sugar was ripe fruit, and that too in the autumn time, there would be some fruits which fell from the tree, and that would be very delicious to eat. But there is a reason they would eat a lot of it, because we have something known as the gorging instinct, and they would gorge on that fruit because there was a long winter coming up ahead where food was not a guarantee, and they would have to go without food for a very long time. So it's a kind of hibernation which the human beings would have to go through. And so they this gorging of fruits would help them to tide over this crisis of not eating. As I've told you, our human bodies are used to prolonged periods of not eating as a matter of adaptation to our evolution. So that is why this gorging instinct is there, and that is why we love so much of sweet. But cut forward to today, in the age of ultra processed food, there is sugar everywhere. There is sugar in each and every food that we eat. There is sugar in the disguised form, and it causes harm to everyone that takes. And not only that, the real concern is the children. You find nowadays children of 8, 10, 12 years having fatty liver, which means they have accumulated excess of sugar into glycogen and into fatty liver, so much so it has gone so far that they are advised liver transplant. So that is a tragedy. And what I would say, would inform you rather, that sugar is as bad as cocaine as far as its addiction to potential is concerned. For a child to get addicted to sugar, all you need is parental love. All you need is the love of friends and relatives who keep on giving sweet treats to children, and they get addicted to it. And when they grow up, they say that I am a foodie, I love sweets. So all these are mental conditioning which has occurred very early in the childhood, thanks to the sugary environment that we live in, starting from the gripe water to the food that we give in Annaprashan or the first rice eating ceremony. And from there, each and every occasion that we celebrate is a celebration of sweets. And what happens is, it becomes a continuous process, and we get used to it. Whenever there is a birthday, what we do is we cut a huge sweet gushy mushy sweet cake. That has become a tradition, whereas that was not a tradition in our country long back. It was something else. Yeah, rice cooked in milk with a little bit of sweet in it is nothing compared to the gushy mushy cake that we have. And the most important thing is that sugar has now been identified as one of the main causes of metabolic diseases that you must keep in mind. And as a lay citizen, please be aware that sugar can cause diabetes, it can cause high blood pressure, it can cause obesity, and it can even cause cancer. I will speak about cancer some other day. It's a very sensitive topic. But cancer cells love to feed on sugar. So if you deprive your body of sugar, maybe some cancer cells will not grow. And the recent research is pointing towards that. More about cancer later on. But today, all I would say is keep away from sugar as much as possible. You will find that once you reduce sugar from your eating pattern, from your diet, you will find the natural taste of other food coming up, and the subtle flavors you will be able to appreciate in your mouth. So there are benefits of giving up sugar. Rather, the next thing is to stop snacking, and this is related to the eating sugar, because most of the snacks are sugary, and if they don't appear to be sugary, they are disguised in sugar. So the snacks could be just the biscuits, and it could be fried food, it could be the thousands and thousands of snacks which are available, both the Indian snacks which are fried in seed oil, and the Western snacks which are available starting from cookies and cakes and pastries. All these snacks are just bombs. They're bombs because they are combination of sweet, combination of seed oil, and combination of trans fat. So all these things they combine together, and and there is a lot of money invested in finding out the exact taste which will make you feel addictive, and once you have them you will feel like having them more and more. And remember that snacking is basically an emotional event. Most of the time when you feel like snacking, it's not really the hunger, it's just that you're feeling bored, that you may be upset for some reason, you may be lonely, or something has triggered you. Nowadays we get triggered for every small thing. So, and then you start eating something which is known as comfort eating. So this kind of mental triggering and comfort eating leads to our eating small meals throughout the day, which is a metabolic disaster. I think I've told you hundreds of times that small eating or snacks is completely unnecessary, is completely unphysiological, and not only that, it is an assault on the human body to eat multiple meals throughout the day. It is like giving an insulin infusion. So what is going to happen? Insulin is going to cause all its damage when it is hyperinsulinemic stage. So snacks are off. Eating multiple times throughout the day, which follows naturally, that you must not eat multiple times throughout the day. You must eat 2 or 3 specific meals, and that should be wholesome foods, and that is how your eating pattern should coincide with something known as a circadian rhythm of the body. Our body has a circadian rhythm, means the body wakes up to sunlight, and you should take in the morning sunlight. There's not much sunlight today, it's a overcast sky, but yes, you should take the morning light in. That kind of sets your clock for the rest of the day. And you should not eat breakfast the very first thing in the day. You should go about doing your work, maybe do some exercise, and which will coincide with your ancestors going and hunting for food. And then after some time, when you feel hungry, that is when you should have your first meal of the day, and that you can call as breakfast. But breakfast can be any time. You can prolong it to the middle of the day. That means you get a much longer fasting period. So a good amount of fasting period followed by 2 or 3 wholesome nutritious meal which is not processed, that would put you on the path of good health. So as long as you avoid these snacks, if you avoid anything that your grandmother and grandfather will not recognize as food on the table. Nowadays we are used to just buying packets from the supermarket, putting them in the refrigerator, bringing them out, putting them in the microwave and eating them without knowing what exactly is there. So that becomes a dangerous trend. Now the most important thing is, whenever you are eating, as I said, you should eat 2 or 3 meals a day maximum. Focus on the protein. Protein is the most important macronutrient. I have told you before that there are 3 macronutrients: carbohydrate, protein and fat, of which carbohydrate are non-essential macronutrient. You really don't need carbohydrates to survive. If you can tolerate carbohydrates, you can keep on eating them, but in the long term they still cause damage. The only good carbohydrates are the green leafy vegetables. They do provide some amounts of vitamin and some fiber, which some scientists still believe that they are good for the gut microbiome. But while the research is still on, I would say carbohydrates in general are non-essential. So the next thing is protein. Protein is perhaps the most important macronutrient, and you must take some amount of protein, minimum 20 grams of protein in every meal. So if you are taking 3 meals a day, that would lead up to 60 grams. That would roughly be 1 gram per kg for an average Indian male. 65 if you take, then little less than 1 gram per kg. Now this is minimum that you should be taking to maintain your muscle mass. Now what happens in our body is that your carbohydrate can be stored as fat. Fat can be stored as fat, but the body doesn't store protein. If you are over 30, every year you are losing as much as 10% of your muscle mass. And if you are over 60, it is even more so. And you are losing muscle at an alarming rate. And unless you eat a adequate amount of protein, that is protein to target as I call it, you will lose your muscle mass. If you want to know what protein to target is, you must go back and listen to my previous episode on keeping your protein to target. So keeping a protein to target means you must eat 1 gram per kg of your ideal body weight of protein every day, whether you are a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian as it is called. You have to find out what suits you best, work with your nutritionist, but make it a goal that you should eat 1 gram of protein of your ideal body weight per day. Because unless you do that, you will lose your muscle. And if you lose your muscle, muscle is intimately connected with bone strength. So you will be prone to early osteoporosis, you will be prone to fractures, and that is a very, very big downstep or a milestone in the downfall of your health. Once you fall down, break a bone, there are no muscles in the body, so it becomes the quality of life deteriorates drastically. You don't want to be like that. I don't believe that the human body was made to become sick and lack of muscle and lack of energy as we grow older. We all have a lifespan, yes. We also have a health span, and ideally our lifespan and health span should be the same. And that is what this whole channel is about. I am trying to make you aware how to have not only a healthy lifespan but also to have a healthy health span, so that you don't have to suffer the last few decades of your life, which most people are doing. That is what is filling the hospitals now, is people are becoming sicker and sicker. So that should not happen, at least to the people I know and the people I am trying to spread this message. So keep an eye on your protein intake. That will go a long way. If you eat protein is the most satiating of all the 3 foods. In fact, I told you about the discovery of the 2 Australian scientists, which is known as the protein leverage hypothesis, that each living being, whether it is an insect or an animal or a human being, will keep eating until the protein needs are satisfied, which means this organism will not stop eating or will keep on feeling hungry until the protein needs are satisfied. In the times of hunter-gatherer or before agriculture, the food used to be very nutrient dense, protein dense when they used to hunt and eat. So the protein needs were satisfied very quickly. After the advent of agriculture, somewhat it got diluted. And if you fast forward it to today, there is hardly any protein in the food that we eat. So that makes us eat more and more and more. And that could be one of the leading drivers of obesity. That is the protein leverage hypothesis, and it is turning out to be more and more true, and it makes a lot of sense. So always look for protein dense food, because protein is needed by the body. It is not stored, and you need that amount of protein to remain healthy. And along with the protein, what you should eat is the healthy fat, because along with protein you will see, for example, in an egg you get protein and you get a healthy amount of cholesterol, which is very much essential. Once again, this cholesterol is very good for you, very healthy for you, and very essential for you. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, that cholesterol is bad, cholesterol is causing heart disease. All that is not true. I will talk about cholesterol and heart disease in a separate episode. But just remember that cholesterol does not cause heart disease. Heart disease is caused by something else. I would say it is the sugar you should avoid, and the junk food you should avoid, and the seed oils you should avoid. Yeah, did I forget telling you about seed oils? The seed oils are the vegetable oils, as they are called, and which are marketed as heart healthy. Please run away from them. They are anything but heart healthy. These vegetable oils, first of all, they are not made from vegetables. They are made from seeds which are not edible by the human beings. Cotton seeds, soybean seeds, rice bran. So what happens is these seeds are actually heated to a very high temperature of 1200 degrees centigrade. Then they are maybe heated again, they are deodorized, then filtered, and chemicals are added, the color is added, and a oil like consistency comes out, and they are kind of converted into edible oil. And these were never meant to be eaten by human beings. Their omega 6 ratio to omega 3 ratio will be 20 times to 1, where it should be 1 is to 1. If you take cold pressed traditional seed oils which our country used to take, like mustard oil in this part of the country, sesame oil in south, and coconut oil in southern parts, these are cold seed oils, and these are very healthy, and these have a very high saturated rather evaporating point when you boil them or when you deep fry in these foods. Whereas these vegetable oil, the so-called vegetable heart healthy oils, are very volatile, and they get oxidized very fast, and anything cooked in them is just going to be inflammatory. So your typical Indian snack, which is a combination of a flour, grain, some sugar, and fried in these vegetable oils, is nothing but a bomb. It is a bomb waiting to explode into your body. So keep that in mind. The next thing you should do is to manage your stress levels, because stress is a very important factor in our health. I know it's very easy to say than to do it, because stress is something which we have very little hands on. We hardly live lives according to our own terms. Most of the time we live lives according to the terms laid down by others. So that is a very big cause of stress. There is stress in everything that we do, right from the stage of the toddlers. It is a rat race. So they have the stress. There is stress in growing up. There is stress in going to college. There is stress in getting married. Stress in getting job. Stress when children are there. So life is stressful. So rather than trying to avoid it, perhaps a better way is to learn how to deal with it. So that many people learn on their own, and they don't get too much stressed up. So what happens is, when you get overstressed, a little amount of stress is good, because that is your body's fighting reaction. But when you get overstressed, what happens is the cortisol level in the body goes up, and that once again gives rise to increased blood sugar and increased insulin. So that can contribute to your hyperinsulinemic state and to a state of a metabolic disorder. So that is the reason why you should try and avoid stress. If you can talk to yourself, the talking to ourselves that we do round the clock is something which can help us. Meditation modifies that self-talk. You can meditate and take help from others who are experts in this. So that way, if you can manage your stress, it will go a very long way in keeping you healthy. And if you can keep your mental strength strong and deal with every situation in life with unanimity, and that will also help you to keep physically healthy, because the mind and the body is very much connected. You should get adequate sunlight every day, because as I told you about the circadian rhythms, is intimately related to the sun. We are creatures of outdoor, and getting the sun every day it means a lot to our health. As I said, today's day is a bit overcast, but even then you should get the light in, and that will help you not only to go throughout the day in a particular rhythm, and it has got a very big influence on your sleep patterns. If you do not get exposed adequately to sunlight, you will not get sleep in the night. So sleep cycle is disrupted, and once the sleep cycle is disrupted, everything else gets disrupted. You suffer from insomnia, and it happened to many people during the pandemic. They were not going out, they were not able to be in unison with the sunrise and the sunset, and that caused a lot of damage to the circadian rhythms in the body, which can lead to wrong pattern of eating, and which can lead to metabolic diseases. So sunlight, being in tune with nature, being in tune with your own body, is what we should all be working for. Last thing, but not the least thing, is the exercise. So exercise is very, very important. As I said to you before, our bodies were made to move, and once you are eating in a nutritious manner, once you are satisfied with your meal, you will yourself feel energetic and you will move. And moreover, movement is how our bodies developed. Movement is how we evolved. And once upon a time we were, in four-legged animals, quadrupeds. Then we became bipeds. Then we learned how to hunt, a unique throwing feature which we have developed, which even the chimpanzees don't have. So all this evolution occurred because we learned to move. Now exercise remains genetically programmed in our body. But remember that should not confuse exercise with weight loss when you have already metabolically sick. When a faulty pattern of eating has made you overweight, has made you obese, and then someone tells you that all you have to do is burn off the calories, because this is a calorie in calorie out equation, please don't believe that person, because our bodies are not calorie meters. Bodies are not kettle machines. The bodies are live organisms. We are full of blood, flesh. We are full of emotions. We are full of hormones. So it is a very complex interaction. It's not a one compartmental model. It is a multi-compartmental model where each food affects our hormones and each thought affects our hormones. So once you get your nutrition right, then only exercise will work for you. And normal walking, brisk walking is fantastic for letting your stress go. Resistance training is what is very, very important. And as you grow older, as I said, we tend to lose our muscle. And it is this resistance training that will help you to maintain the muscle mass. I'm not asking you to bulk up, that is your choice as far as muscles are concerned, but just to keep the muscles which we are losing as we age is crucial for having a lifespan along with your having a health span along with your lifespan, which I was talking about. So if you want to keep healthy till the last day, you must exercise your muscles against resistance. Resistance training need not be very complicated. It can be just squatting, it can be just pulling against a rope, or it can be very simple. It can be just few minutes a day or whatever little time, but do it and do it regularly. So that will keep you going, that will keep your body on the move, that will keep your mind focused. And a combination of all these things which I told you. Well, my dear friends, I hope you found this information useful, and I wish you a very good health in the year 2023, and I hope you all become healthy drivers of your own health, and keep driving in such a way that your health is never compromised. I'll be gone for a short while on a road trip, but I'll be back soon, and I'll catch up with you next time.